he lived in an airport for 18 years. Imagine living in a place built for departures, but never being allowed to leave. Not for a night, not for a week, not for a delay. For 18 years. Planes took off every single day. Just not with him. Pause. What would that do to a person? What would it do to you? He wasn't born in an airport. He had a country, a past, an identity. And then, one day, it was gone. A lost passport, political chaos in his homeland, paperwork that didn't match, governments that wouldn't recognize him. No country claimed him. No country accepted him. He landed in transit and never left. Have you ever been stuck in between something? Between jobs? Between relationships? Between who you were and who you're becoming? Now imagine that feeling, but physical. A terminal, metal chairs, fluorescent lights, and nowhere to go. Airports are strange places. They are designed for movement, for momentum, for next steps. They are not designed for permanence. People rush through them. They don't build lives in them. But he did. He slept on metal benches. He washed in public restrooms. He organized his few belongings in neat stacks beside him. At first, it must have felt temporary. A delay, a misunderstanding, a small mistake that would be corrected soon. Because that's what we tell ourselves when life pauses. It won't last. But what happens when it does? What happens when tomorrow keeps arriving and nothing changes? Every day, thousands of people passed him. Families hugging goodbye, business travelers checking watches, couples beginning vacations, children pressing faces against glass as planes roared upward. Life in motion. And he watched it all. He became part of the scenery. The man near the pillar, the quiet one with papers, the one who never boarded. At some point, do you stop feeling embarrassed? Or does embarrassment become your skin? Think about it. When you're stuck, when your life isn't moving, and everyone else seems to be accelerating, how long before you start believing you're the problem? Without documentation, he wasn't just stranded. He was legally invisible. No passport, no citizenship recognized, no official existence. Imagine walking into a room and not legally existing. Imagine needing permission to be human. Your name, meaningless. Your history, unverified. Your future, paused. Who are you when systems refuse to acknowledge you? And deeper than that, who are you when time moves forward, but your life does not? Waiting sounds harmless, but waiting without a deadline is different. At first, you count days, then weeks, then you stop counting. The departure boards flicker constantly. New destinations, new flights, new routes, but none of them are yours. Do you know what's cruel about airports? They constantly remind you that escape exists. You can see it, hear it, feel it, but you can't access it. Have you ever watched opportunity pass you by because of something outside your control? How did that feel? Now stretch that feeling across 18 years. Let me ask you something. Is there an area in your life where you feel like you're in transit? Not settled, not progressing, not leaving, just waiting. Because sometimes we don't need an airport to feel stranded. Sometimes we build our own terminals. Humans adapt. It's one of our most terrifying strengths. The metal bench becomes your spot. The security guards become familiar faces. The cleaners nod at you each night. He read newspapers obsessively. He kept documents neatly organized. He created routine. Routine gives the illusion of control. And control is oxygen when everything else is unstable. At what point does survival become identity? At what point do you stop saying, "I'm stuck here," and start saying, "This is where I live"? Governments changed. Policies shifted. Airlines came and went. Technology advanced. People moved from pagers to smartphones. And he remained, frozen in transit. Have you ever noticed how painful it feels when the world upgrades and you don't? Friends get married, careers take off, new cities, new opportunities, and you're still in the same place. Not because you lack ambition, but because something invisible is holding you back. Eventually, journalists noticed him. The story spread. The man who lives in an airport. Strangers became curious. Curiosity became attention. Attention became legend. But attention does not equal belonging. People knew about him, but they didn't know him. There's a difference. Have you ever felt seen but not understood? Visible but not connected? At one point, authorities tried to resolve his status. Opportunities appeared. Documents were possible. Freedom was within reach. But something strange had happened. The airport wasn't just a prison anymore. It was familiar, safe in its predictability. Leaving meant uncertainty, and uncertainty can feel more frightening than confinement. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. If someone offered you complete freedom tomorrow, would you take it? Or have you grown comfortable with your limitations? 18 years. Think about that number. Children were born and grew into adults while he remained in transit. 18 winters, 18 summers, 18 cycles of holidays, all inside fluorescent lighting. The most painful part wasn't the metal bench. It wasn't the waiting. It was this. The world functioned perfectly fine without him. And that realization can break a person. Have you ever felt replaceable, interchangeable? Like if you disappeared, nothing would shift. That is the quiet fear this story exposes. He eventually left the airport, but the years remained. Time doesn't refund itself. It doesn't apologize. It just moves. And that's what makes this story terrifying. Not because he was physically trapped, but because many of us are emotionally there right now. Sitting in our own terminals, watching other people board flights we believe we're not allowed to take, waiting for permission, waiting for clarity, waiting for someone to call our name. But what if no one does? What if the gate never announces you? At what point do you stand up and walk anyway? He lived in an airport for 18 years. But the real question isn't about him. It's about you. Where are you waiting that you no longer need to? And how much of your life is passing overhead while you sit still? Pause. Because sometimes the only thing separating you from departure is the belief that you're allowed to leave.